Lesson 2-3 goes with our next step in solving equations. We're going to solve equations using the distribution property, or equations that have the distribution property needed evident in them. So our procedure for these particular equations is as follows. Step 1 is to distribute the outside coefficient to all terms on the inside of the parentheses. If there is no outside coefficient, please make sure you distribute a 1. Step 2, again, as we've done in lessons 2-1 and 2-2, is to solve the equation with all of our normal rules in place. That includes writing properties each time we use them, drawing a mirror, and making sure that we check our work. We check by testing for truth. Here's an example that we'll walk through. We have 3 times the quantity x plus 5 equal to 45. The first thing I'm going to do according to my procedure is distribute the outside coefficient, in this case 3. I've done that there, and I have 3x plus 15 now equal to 45. To the right, I wrote the property that I used, and it's the distributive property. Please note it's not the distributive property of equality because I did not do things to both sides. All I did was distribute the 3 and perform the distributive property. Now I have a regular multi-step equation, the first of which I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides using the subtraction property of equality, and I'm left with 3x equal to 30. I'll then divide by 3 on both sides to have x equal to 10, and of course I use the division property of equality to do so. The check that I perform is below. Notice that all steps are included when I do my check. Alright, so here's an example for you to do on your own. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do the example. So I'm going to start out by distributing the 4 to both the 2x and then 7. I end up with negative 8x minus 28 is equal to 44. That's a distributive property. And then I'm going to add 28 to both sides. I end up with negative 8x equal to 72. I then divide both sides by negative 8 to get x equal to negative 9. I use the addition property of equality with adding the 28, and I use the division property of equality when I divided by negative 8. The check I performed is below. Here's another example for us to complete. It might be a little bit more difficult with a fraction. However, you should be able to handle that. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do the example. So in distributing the 1/4 to both, I wrote it out as if I really needed to write it out, that it's really 8x over 4 plus 16 over 4 equal to 12. I simplified those to get 2x plus 4 equal to 12. It really is not necessary for you to write the 8x over 4 plus 16 over 4, but if that helps you, please go ahead and do that. I use the distributive property clearly to distribute the 1/4 to both the 8x and the 16. I then subtract 4 from both sides using the subtraction property of equality, and I'm left with 2x equals to 8. When I divide both sides by 2 using the division property of equality, I'm left with x equal to 4. My check is below.
Toyota Highlander presents How To with Eli Manning.
One more example to perform here. This one's a little bit awkward to look at.
Okay, standing by now, Gene Okerlund with Ravishing Rick Rude and Bobby the Brain. You know, the Ultimate Warrior.
So the first thing I want to do here is put a 1 in front of these parentheses. That reminds me to distribute a negative 1 to both the negative 2x
and you saw Mr. McMahon moments
I'm left
ago.
with 2x plus 17 is equal to negative 15. I subtract 17 from both sides using the subtraction property of equality, and I'm left with 2x equal to negative 32. I divide both sides by 2 to get x equal to negative 16 using the division property of equality. My check with all steps is below.